Welcome to the NFL show on the Slaughter on Sports Podcast Network, live on YouTube, live on X, both Slaughter on Sports and Total Apex Media X. Good to be back. What a week it was. Favorites galore. I think 9-2. The favorites went, and I think it was the same the week before, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong about that, but regardless, it is good to be back with my main man, Joe. Joe, how we doing on a football Wednesday, my friend?
Yeah, listen, tough weekend to watch, right? Lot of double-digit victories, a lot of favorites winning. It was, listen, you got two baseball games in one on the Monday night game. That might have been a better watch than the Chiefs game. So good on you. Even if you watch the Chiefs game, guess what? You got a whole second half of a baseball game, which in essence was a full baseball game, if you think about it. That you could have watched after the game, even if you weren't that interested. So, yeah, definitely a better baseball weekend than it was a football weekend.
Dude, I'm glad that you brought up baseball. First, we'll remind everybody that this show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code SPORTS10, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off selected cards. With our promo code, that means you get up to 60% off selected cards in the First Round Collectibles store. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off every card and up to 60% off selected cards. Total firstroundcollectibles.com, promo code sports10, and Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever you want, whatever you need to know, they have you covered, whether it's about the teams, the games, gambling. I guess sports betting is a more politically correct terminology, more accepted than gambling. Fantasy sports, DFS, they have it all. Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. I'm glad that you brought up baseball because I want to run this by you real quick. So, yeah, dude, like me as a Jays fan, especially, anytime that the World Series game has been on, 4 nights so far, everything else has been secondary, and that includes hockey, my first love. That's everything. I've watched a little bit of basketball and a little bit of hockey just because the game started at like 8:00, so put something on at 7 and whatever. But I have literally it's been really busy since the hockey season started for me, covering games and writing and then doing these podcasts and playoff baseball, and every night is just overload. So when the World Series started, I basically told my bosses at the Hockey Writers, listen, I am spending World Series with my family, watching games, taking a little reset. And it's just been a wild ride. We have a baseball show. We'll be back tomorrow night, so we can talk more about that tomorrow night, 6:00. But I still can't even believe that we're here. It's just incredible ride. This isn't a team like the Yankees or the Phillies that expect to be in this position. This is a terrible Blue Jays team that became not terrible and went on a destiny run, and it's just been so much fun. But now what you said, and this is what I want to talk to you about. As a fan of the New York Yankees, and I know it's been a while since you won it, but you've been to the World Series recently as last year. And the Monday night game was a whole different animal, right? 7 hours. I watched the entire thing, went to bed at 4 a.m. and was at my job at 20 after 7. Like just a zombie. Dude, I am...
Yeah.
I'm a mess. It's ruined my life. Ruined my parenting. It's ruined the way in which I speak to my spouse has been ruined. My mental clarity. It's just ruined my life. Now, these games started at 8 and they end around 11-ish, 11:30-ish. Is this how the World Series is? Like, I know I watch the World Series every year, but never as a fan. Like, when the World Series comes around for you as a Yankees fan who has been to the World Series recently, are you just a mental just mush for the entire 2 weeks of the World Series, or what is it? Because it's, or I guess week, because I am literally no good to anybody right now.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll use that experience, like you said, that most recent experience, because this is what it was like when you feel like you've got a squad, right? When you feel like you've got the team to go, it starts way before that, right? It starts
Yeah.
like that first series and you're locked in, right? And then, everybody saw that huge homer to get us into the essentially get us into the World Series by Soto against the Guardians. And oh man, brother, seeing that shot, it was basically your Springer shot. Like that Springer shot for you guys this year was our Soto shot. Like, so that to give you a comparison of what the train you're riding right now, that was us last year. And so when that's happening, like, you're super locked in on baseball. I wasn't locked in on football when this was happening. I wasn't locked in on the Knicks when this was happening. I was locked in on baseball. We had a shot. We felt like we had a shot. Especially with the bullpen that the Dodgers had. We knew they were gettable. We knew they were gettable if we can just make it to the bullpen. But I say all that to say, yeah, when you've got a team, it starts before the World Series, and I tell everybody, and everybody, shout out to the group chat, like all of my sports friends, they know that I'm locked into baseball somewhere around mid-September. I keep up with it. I'm watching a game or two here or there, but I'm not super, super locked in until like the wild card race is heating up, the division race is heating up. That mid-September when you got call-ups from the minor leagues, and those guys are getting time, and you're setting up your pitching schedule for the playoffs when you get there. That's when I'm locked into baseball. But yeah, I say all that to say, yeah, I hear you 100%. That's where I was last year around this time. As you're facing the same team we did, hopefully with better luck for you guys. You made it further than we did. You got it evened up at 2. It's a 3-game series right now. It's a 3-game series right now. We couldn't even get to the fifth, past the 5th game. So you're already guaranteed to surpass what we did last year.
Oh man, and you know what? Like, so I've talked about this before. I don't know if I've talked about this on this show. Definitely on the baseball show, I've talked about this, where I watch hockey every single night, all night long. Basketball sprinkled in there, and I watch football all day, Sunday, every Sunday. And so as like an acknowledgement to my wife, when baseball comes around, when the Stanley Cup playoffs are over, and baseball comes around, I keep my eye on it. I watch games here and there. I listen to a lot of like radio, and I make sure that I'm in the know. I know what's going on. I know how the teams are playing, so that, when the conversations come up, I do know what I'm talking about. However, when it comes to watching my team every single night, I don't, because I have a family and my wife puts up with so much sports during fall, winter, and spring that the summer I take my foot off the gas a little bit and give her a break and help her run our home. This is like heaven for me, dude. Like, this is the sick baseball fan in me that is on hold every summer that I now can finally let out. And it's been a wild ride. Now this is the NFL show. We're going to get into some football. And now that being said, at the end of the show, Joe, I am going to ask you, I do want to talk a little World Series with you, just a little. We're not going to get super hot and heavy about it, but I just want to know your thoughts. You're a baseball guy, very knowledgeable about baseball, so I want to get into your thoughts on it just a little bit at the end to round out the night leading into Game 5 tonight. All right, back to football. See our chat. Who do we got? Of course, Mark has a TV room to only hockey. And only hockey, a Maple Leafs banner that's been there. Yeah.
No shot.
This guy always, dude.
Yeah.
Always. Always has to bring up my Maple Leafs. Always. I caught shrapnel. What was it, Jordan? It was like when the Jays made the CS or when they made the World Series. Something like that. And Jordan, like, quote tweeted me saying something about this is further than the Leafs have ever gotten. Like, dude, like, let me enjoy it.
Yeah, like, he'll do that to me too.
You know what I mean? Like, let me enjoy the Blue Jays, man. You don't got to bring the Leafs into it. Yeah, but yeah, Jordan's the best.
I'm pretty sure I got quote tweeted when Soto landed with the Mets. I'm pretty sure there's a quote tweet in there.
Yeah.
When Soto, so yeah, he's equal opportunity. Don't feel bad. We all get a piece. We all get a piece.
Absolutely love it. All right, let's talk about Week 8 in the NFL. Listen, man. I like the idea. I don't know how often I actually do this, but I like the idea of starting shows off positive. I think that's a good way to kind of go about it. I don't know how often I actually do that or not, but I got to hit you with some negative thoughts right off the bat, dude, because as we said, lots of blowouts over the weekend. Chargers, big win for them. I figured they would win now. We were running late last week, so we never actually had our weekly betting segment. So whenever we refer to what we thought, people are just going to have to take our word for it. But figure the Chargers would win. Figure they would win somewhat convincingly, not 27 points convincingly, but good win for the Chargers, keeping up with the rest of the division. Bills get back to the winning ways after the bye week. The Jets get their first win, and I feel like although the Bengals making the playoffs were a long shot, not knowing exactly when Joe Burrow is coming back, that was a really, really tough blow to let that one slip away, especially with a 17-3 lead. The Niners, again, just injuries on like eventually do you feel like the wheels are going to fall off? Still 5-3 after the loss over the weekend to the Texans, where CJ Stroud finally looked like the rookie version of CJ Stroud. We'll see what that means moving forward. Had a very, very good Sunday. The Patriots just keep doing what the Patriots have been doing, man. Just solid football team growing every week. I know that they beat the Browns, but you beat anybody by 19 points, and that's not nothing. That's something like never mind who you're playing. Myles Garrett just is basically the Mike Trout of the NFL. Just comparison. 5 sacks, 1 million tackles. Like, I think he got me 33 fantasy points in the league that I have that has both defense and offensive players, not just defenses, but actual players. I'm pretty sure he got me like 33 fantasy points on the weekend. Like, just disgusting. But he's on the Browns, so it doesn't matter. The Eagles get their revenge on the Giants. Really, really tough. That Scatterboo thing was tough, man. Never like to see that. What happens there? The Bucks, Broncos, big win. The Colts just keep there's lots of stories that we can pull, as abysmal as a lot of these games were. However, I want to start negative. And there are positives that we could go to, of course, and maybe we will as the show goes on. But I want to start negative. And listen, I understand, Jordan. He's talking. Garrett did that to himself. Crimea River. I know he took the money. I'm just saying, like, it just sucks as a fan. I'm not saying from him. I'm saying for me, like, I want to watch great players do great things in big spots, and it sucks to have this guy do like it just rot away in Cleveland. I don't know. I don't know where you want to go first. I'll lay them both out there, and I'll let you kind of take it where you want to go. There's 3 negative storylines that I want to follow. 2 of them I'll say right now. The Falcons. Now, to say that I was out on Falcons, I think leading into the season, the Falcons were a team that would probably go 50-50, right? About the amount of people that were in on them, the amount of people that were out on them. Not that the Falcons were some Super Bowl juggernaut, but I think a lot of people were excited about what this offense could have been. I know that Drake London was out. I know that Penix was out. Heard and understood. You still have pieces. I know Bijan fumbled the ball, but he only had 9 carries. And you get curb stomped by the Dolphins, a team that has sucked all year. I know that they get paid too. I know that they're professionals too. Them putting up 24 points is whatever. That defense gets like lit up every week. And the Falcons, and again, I know Kirk Cousins didn't look great. I get it. But you lose, you get not like you don't even lose. You get shut out to the Panthers by the Panthers. Immediately I was out. Now you lose by what? 14 points. It's just 2 scores to the Dolphins, a defense that gets destroyed every week. I remain out. I don't even know what to say about this team. Again, I know that you had 2 big pieces out, but if I knew that Penix was out before the game, like before Sunday, I still would have picked the Falcons to win that game. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but that didn't change anything as far as my perspective on that game. Then you have the Bears against the Ravens team that also gives up 1 million points every single week. You are 3-3 going into your bye, and you have an opportunity, you're 4-2 going into the game before your bye, a chance to give yourself a nice little cushion here. 5-2 going into your bye. I believe it's their bye. I believe this week coming up against the Ravens team that does not have Lamar Jackson. Now we thought they were going to, but then they ended up not having Lamar Jackson. And again, a defense that put up that gave up 1 million points. I'm not. No matter how high your expectations were for the Falcons and or the Bears, they probably weren't incredibly high. But both these teams need to prove something this year. And losses like that, I just find incredibly disappointing. And I have no dog in the fight or dog in the race, probably a better way to put it, talking about football and the Atlanta Falcons especially. But just what the heck, Joe?
Yeah, well, listen, I'll say this as far as the Dolphins game is concerned. This is textbook Falcons, all right, and I'm gonna take you on a little journey that I've been on with the Falcons. The Falcons have lost me probably somewhere around $5,000 as far as their ineptitude. Okay, 4,400 of which was on the right arm of Kirk Cousins on a game against the Los Angeles Chargers last year. It was the beginning of the end for Kirk Cousins. It was the game in which he threw 4 interceptions against the Chargers, and simultaneously legitimized the Chargers as a potential problem in the AFC West, and also solidified the incoming Penix later on in the season, because he never got right. Kirk never got right during the season. And I understand that he was hurt, but yeah, he cost me the only loss on my 14 team parlay that I was turning $1 into $4,400. So from that point, I said, you know what? Anything that's even remotely important, I'm not going to place in the Falcons' hands. And here again, yet again, a Dolphins team going nowhere fast, quickly. You have a coach who's just watching his quarterback turn the ball over possession after possession, and he's just shooing them off the field, just like this. Just get off the field. He is so upset with what he's watching, and it's against this team that Tua doesn't turn the ball over against. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. But then I also recollect in my brain, oh yeah, it's the Falcons, and they're good for this every season. Every season they're good for one of those games where you just think, okay, this is all them, right? This is completely, again, they got a team that's going nowhere fast, and they're still trying to win the NFC South, or they're still trying to get into the playoffs. So that game, not surprised by. The Bengals Jets game was interesting, just because you let a Jets team score 23 points in a quarter, much less over that amount in a game that Justin Fields is quarterbacking. That's otherworldly bad defense. Like next level, next gen bad defense. And I understand that Hendrickson went out at some point during the game. But even without him on the field,
doesn't matter.
Justin Fields was unplayable as a quarterback. Like they had to play him because Taylor wasn't good enough to go, and Glenn was already thinking about making that move. And he has a renaissance game. He looked like the game they lost earlier in the season against the Steelers. So I was already out on the Bengals. Like that was a given already, even with their improvement in the run game. Which, let's give credit where it's due. Their run game is starting to come back. It's actually given them a reason to think that they may be able to play a complete offensive game to game. And the offense wasn't the problem here. Okay, they scored 38 points. What else can you do? But the defense was just otherworldly bad. Specifically against the run. You give up almost 300 yards rushing, you're going to lose the game. Even if you have almost 200 yourself, you can't give up on the other end almost 300 and expect to win the game. So Breece Hall was great. We'll see if Breece Hall is still on the team after next week. They're still in selling assets land because that was their first win of the season. So at 1-7, you're still looking at selling off your assets that you're not, thinking about bringing back moving forward. But yeah, otherworldly bad games by the Bengals and the Falcons respectively. Expected from one team, a little less expected from the other team, just again because of who they were facing. As far as the Bengals is concerned, but yeah, both disappointing, and then both I don't think going anywhere good before the end of the season. I think the Falcons finish outside the playoffs with what I'm looking at.
Well, and like the idea is that like it's yeah, like we can be out on the Bengals and we can be out on all this stuff. I think like the idea is you brought Joe Flacco in solely because you felt that if you can maintain a little bit better than 500 when Joe Burrow comes back, you can make a push. Yeah. 9-8, 10-7 probably gets you into the playoffs. And so a loss like that just crushes you. When Joe Flacco, gets you 38 points, or I don't know if when he went out, if I think Browning was only out there for one drive, if I remember correctly, but yeah, just heartbreaking. And listen, you know what? I in one of my fantasy leagues, Joe Burrow or Stafford and Herbert are my quarterbacks, and I forgot to put Herbert in my lineup before Thursday night. So I had to go on the waiver wire, and I brought it, and the guy got me 25 points. So, he did his job for them and for me. Just real quickly to finish up what I was saying with the Bears. Now, week 6, the Ravens gave up 17 points in a 17-3 loss to the Rams. Then bye week, last week, gave up 16 points to the Bears. So, I don't know, maybe the defense is turning it around a little bit. But before that, 44 points, 37 points, 38 points, 17 to the Browns, doesn't matter, 41 points to the Bills. If you're the Bears, man, that's just a really tough look. And Caleb Williams just something's missing. Something is missing with him for sure. Moving on in the negativity, the Packers, not negative, get a big win Sunday Night Football, 35-25 over the Steelers. Thought the Steelers looked really good over the course of at least the beginning of that game. I think Aaron Rodgers has come into this team and he's done what he's had to do. You're not going to get the back-to-back most valuable player. We're not throwing it back to 2012, but he's come in. He's looked good, at least good enough, and he has done what he has had to do. They're 4-3 as of now. The rest of that division obviously is what it is, but just pulling this up here real quick. Bengals 3-5, Ravens 2-5, Browns 2-6, with the Bengals coughing up that game. Not obviously, we just said what we felt about the Bengals, but the records are what the records are. They're 3-5, and the Steelers are 4-3. And that was a real opportunity with the way that game was going the Packers, I think that was a really important win for them, not even for the schedule, but they just haven't looked that great. They've looked fine, but they just haven't looked like a complete performance in a while. And something happened throughout that game where they just came to life. And when they got that lead, they just pounced on the Steelers from then on. Now, to talk about the Pittsburgh of it all, I was decently high on Pittsburgh. I wasn't predicting any Super Bowl runs, but I thought that they had a really good chance to win this division, even with Lamar healthy. I thought that Pittsburgh could be competitive. But what was the conversation, Joe, before the season started, right? It was, what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers? What's Aaron Rodgers going to look like? What's the offense going to look like? You got, your typical wide receiver diva with Metcalf there and Rodgers there. All these personalities with and Jalen Ramsey there and all around Mike Tomlin. All these personalities and drama, and what will it all be? The issue's been the defense. And I don't know if we just watched a unit as a whole get over the hump before our eyes, but this defense is not good, man. Like, they're just not good. And the whole upside with the Steelers was you only need like between 17 and 24 points to win games. You don't need to be Batman out there. You just need to get, high double digits and you'll be okay. And I mean, in like the tens, 17, 18, 19 points plus, and you'll be okay. Yeah. This defense is not winning them any football games right now.
Yeah. And listen, middle of the pack against the rush, which I like them. I expect them to be somewhere around the top 10. With stalwarts like Watt and Hayward on your defensive line. I know they got the rookie Harmon, who's supposed to be in there, also making that a stout line. but against the pass, they're like 20 in the 20s, late 20s at that. I think 28th, 29th against the pass. And that's really for me the surprising part, because that's where they, got some really veteran talent back there. They picked up Ramsey, they picked up Slay, who's, at one point one of the best corners in the league, both of them. And that's the issue. That's where the issue is, because they're giving up um, fifth worst passing yards in the league. And that's ultimately the problem. They went into that fourth quarter up 19-14. Now they could have been up more, but it also could have been closer as well too. Green Bay missed a couple of field goals to where that could have been them winning into the fourth, 2019, but also a lot of field goal drives from the offense that could have been touchdowns. So both teams, I believe, in the first three quarters left points on the field. But you're 19-14 heading into the fourth quarter, and you got guys like TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, like you got guys who have been there, done that. Slay, Ramsey. You're thinking, okay, if we could just play sound football here, we should be able to come out of this. And they scored on just about every possession in the fourth quarter. They had 2 touchdown drives and 2 field goal drives in the fourth quarter, meaning the Packers. And yeah, and they got a garbage touchdown at the end, the Steelers. So I mean, the offense wasn't exactly cooking in the fourth quarter either. I wouldn't even, the score says 25, but I mean, they got a garbage touchdown at the end. That was really meaningless. So they put an offer in the fourth quarter. We'll just say that, even if it says 6 in that column. So I think it was just an otherworldly bad fourth quarter on both sides of the ball for the Steelers. And I think had they not left so many points on the table with field goal drives earlier in the game, maybe they go into that quarter with a bigger lead. But yeah, I mean, give credit to where it's due. Packers defense stepped up in the fourth quarter, kept points off the table. Jordan Love leads 4 scoring drives in the fourth quarter. Kicker bounces back, hits 2 in the fourth. Yeah, that's the difference between winning and losing football. And honestly, moving forward, and this is why the lines were what the lines were when we were looking at the NFC North, as far as or excuse me, the AFC North, when we were looking at the odds as far as the Ravens, the Steelers. Listen, the Steelers at some point it's gonna look great, and then it's not. And already one side of the football, we're kind of close to the halfway point, but this is usually right around the time, like, boom, the wheels start falling off November, December off of one side of the ball. Last year was the offense. The offense fell off a cliff. All of a sudden, Wilson wasn't great, and they limp into the playoffs and get waxed. Is it the defense this time? Is it going to be the defense that falls off the cliff? And situationally speaking, like, I don't even know what you do as far as the roster is concerned. I think they're still sniffing for a second wideout. I think they are still, sniffing around, seeing, can they pry one of those Saints guys out of there? They're still looking for a wide receiver too. I will say defense is a huge problem. Even if they get that second wide receiver, they're too leaky back there in the secondary.
Yeah, if they can only do one, it has to be the defense. Like if they can't do both and they can only do one, it has to be, because like you said, man, 19-14 going into the fourth or at the end of the third, around there, that's a game that Steelers team can close out. And I know the Packers, like that team, they're Super Bowl favorites at the beginning of the year. Okay. The Packers are not nothing. I know that they're talented and they're dynamic and they can, put up a bunch of points in the blink of an eye. I get it. But you gotta keep that game, like, you know, how long into the fourth quarter before that game was kind of over? You know what I mean? So interesting, interesting moving forward. All right. A couple positives to spin your way before we move on. Colts over the Titans, 38-14. The Titans are what the Titans are, and I know, you can't any positive feelings you had about the Colts don't get solidified due to a 24-point victory over the Titans. However, it's just impressive seeing what this team continues to do. And then you have the Patriots, where again, any positive feelings cannot be solidified when you beat a team like the Browns by 19 points or whatever it was. However, both of these teams, the Colts more so, not looked at overly favorably going into the regular season, to say the least. And here both these teams are in just, it's just incredible, certain storylines going into a season, just how quickly they can get turned onto their head. Where the Colts, it was really quickly. The Pats, it's just been kind of a slow burn as the season's going on. It's like, okay, yes, soft schedule, not really buying it. And then it's like, wait a second, I know the schedule's soft, but I think this team might be good. So I pose this to you, Joe. New England Patriots to win the division is plus 120. All right. Plus 120. The Bills are minus 150. For the Indianapolis Colts to be the 1 seed, plus 175. Where's the 2 seed? I wanted the 2 seed too. I can't see the 2 seed. I feel like there would be a 2 seed in here that would have made this better. Regardless, plus 120 for the Pats or plus 175 for the Colts to get the 1 seed. Which one, if you had to pick one, you got to pick one. Which one are you going with? Pats to win the division over the Bills, or the Colts to win the 1 seed? Right now, sorry, for the record, just to tee this up, the Pats at 6-2, Bills 5-2, Broncos 6-2 are the so the ones. Funny enough, the 1 seed right now is Colts 7-1, and the Pats and the Broncos are both 6-2. So those are your 2 and 3 seeds heading into week 9.
If I had to choose, I would choose the Colts 1 seed.
Okay.
I would choose the Colts 1 seed because they still have 4 very winnable division games left. 2 against the Jaguars, 2 against the Texans, and I know the Texans look like they may be trying to turn the corner. But I think they put themselves at such a deficit that that's ultimately not going to matter. So even if they split that, I have them winning both games against the Jaguars. So that will put them at 3-1 in the division. With what 4? You're looking at 7-1, 3-1. That's 10-2. So you're talking about 5 games left. Even if they split that, like you're looking at 13-4 at worst. And for me, that would be good enough this year to be a 1 seed. I don't see anyone else in kind of like the next tier below them being 13-4. And they have a less margin of error for them to get to that point. I think for me, yeah, the way the Colts have been playing, pass game, run game. They're balanced on the offense. That makes them very attractive. They can stop the run, which makes them also attractive. My only concern would be the secondary, but as we get colder, the run game is going to be more and more important. So I don't think there's going to be too much flying around. Kind of like in the November, December months, depending on where they're playing. So I think if they could tighten up the secondary, even get themselves to like middle of the pack, it should be very easy for them to get to the 1 seed. Now, that being said, it's not outside of the realm of possibility that
No.
the Pats could eclipse the Bills finally in this division that they've had a stranglehold on since Brady left. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. I just feel stronger about the Colts. I've been on them earlier.
You were.
So I'm
You were.
I'm I'm backing DJ. I'm backing Taylor and the crew. Um I just think they got a better shot. But the Pats are cooking. The Pats are cooking. But we still have room to see where they fit in that echelon when they face stiffer competition. Because like you said, outside of the Bills game, little light on the schedule. But you can only beat the teams that are in front of you. So they continue to win games, continue to be impressive. Nobody runs on this team. Nobody runs on this team. So
It's
they're very
impressive.
stout against the run.
Yeah.
So honestly, that's gonna help them for sure. And it'll help them against teams like Baltimore, teams like that teams that are like run heavy. Um, those teams, and that's ultimately, if you think about it, that's ultimately how you get a Buffalo, right? Because Cook, Davis, Allen, all are gonna get carries. That's going to help them in games against them in particular. So I do like the Patriots, but I love the Colts.
Yeah, man. I mean, for the Pats, week 14 is their bye. And in the 5 games leading up to that, they got the Falcons this week, the Bucks in Tampa the week after. Then you're home to the Jets in Cincinnati, and week 13 you're home to the Giants. Like, that is a 4-1 slate, or what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, like 4-1, right?
I feel pretty
I
good
think
about that.
what you're saying. To what you're saying about the run, what I found really impressive looking back now, when they beat the Bills back in week 5, 23-20, you look at the Buffalo Bills rushing 53 yards, Josh Allen, 49 yards, Cook, 10 yards, Johnson. I believe, and again, I could be wrong about this, but I believe that Allen is the only 50-plus yard rusher against the Pats this season. Again, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is true, and that's 53 yards, right? So, I mean, just those, 4 games or 5 games coming up alone, I really like what that looks like. Now, after that, they got they have the Bills week 15 at home, week 16 against the Ravens. There's 2 tough games, and then the Jets and the Dolphins to close it out. So I really like that schedule. And you're talking about 13-4 for the Colts. I mean, we could very well be talking about that for the Pats too, which, again, you got to play who the schedule says you play. It's not their fault, but definitely favorable for them. For the Colts, as my computer loses its mind, there we go. Oh my goodness. All right. Yeah, I am aware, by the way, that my camera's frozen again, because why wouldn't it be? Week 9, so they have the Steelers this week. That'll be a test, although I like that matchup against their defense we just talked about. Week 10 against the Falcons. Week 11 bye, And then on the road against Kansas City, that's going to be a great game. Home to the Texans, away against the Jags, and then away to the Seahawks, home to the Niners, home to the Jags, and away to the Texans. So a little bit of a tougher schedule, but they've only lost one game. So you have that kind of wiggle room. So I think you're right. Plus 175, Colts 1 seed. But I'm not taking away the Pats' chances here either to win the division, and just for funsies. So where is it? To get the 1 seed, Indianapolis, Buffalo, Kansas City. Right now, Indianapolis is plus 175, Buffalo plus 320, Kansas City plus 360. All the way at plus 700 are the New England Patriots. So, I mean, I know that's a long shot for a reason, but it's a pretty long number considering what we just laid out there. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't mind it at all. All right.
I think for me,
anything else?
Oh,
yeah, go.
Just on that alone, there, a lot of it for me is going to be that December 14th game against the Bills that they're going to have 2 weeks to prepare for. What's the result of that game? Because for tiebreak purposes, but also seeding purposes. And also, who is the quarterback for the Bengals on November 23rd? What's the timeline on Burrow coming back on that?
Fair.
And that makes the Bengals game, the Bills game, and Ravens game a little bit tougher. Just knowing, hey, those guys may all have their guys. So we'll see what happens there. But that 3 out of 4 stretch, because I listen, the Giants may not have Scatterboo, but they're not laying down for anybody. So that 4-game stretch for me is going to be the telltale for me. Bengals, Giants, Bills, Ravens. Whether they catch that division win.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get to the best bets, I am going to take a minute here in a second and fix this camera of mine. But before we get to best bets, is there anything else in week 8 that you want to touch on? Again, not the most visually appealing week, but a lot of definitive wins. Anything else that you want to touch on when it comes to week 8?
Listen, I love the energy that the Colts are just playing with. We spoke about them, but like the light that you see in Daniel Jones and him playing football again, it feels like he's just in love with the game again, in love with the process. I saw him on Pat McAfee the other day, and he's just like, listen, they had that moment in the game where they had like a lookalikes. Like they had in the stands looking for lookalikes for people, and then they put Indiana Jones up there, and the theme music came on, and then they put the camera on Daniel Jones, and this was like a break in between, like one of those TV breaks in the middle of the game, and you could see the camera pan to him, and you could see him just trying to look busy, like he didn't notice that he was just on the big camera in the stadium or anything, but he was just trying to lock in, but like, just all the love that's going his way, and just like it feels like the football gods are paying him back for just the crap that he went through with my New York Giants. So good on him, good on the team being behind him, just taking after his leadership. And listen, Jonathan Taylor may end up at the end of this season being the offensive player of the year. I had Burrow, but he got hurt, so it can't be Burrow. I think this guy is on pace to be better than Barkley was last season.
It's insane. It's insane what he's doing week after week. Now, I do gotta say real quick, just because you brought it up, I love that as a football fan, okay? Clearly, as an Eagles fan, what we got from Saquon last year was incredible, and I loved every minute of it. And the fact that he came from New York was just icing on the cake, right?
Valid.
For me.
Valid.
But Saquon went through his ups and downs with the Giants as far as whether it was injuries or at moments maybe not playing that well, but overall, this was a very, very good running back, especially in the last year of his time with New York. He kind of dipped down a little bit and then came back up. There was a very, very good running back that just needed a place to thrive. And the Eagles, with their offensive line and just the way that they've been playing over the last few years, was a very obvious place for him to go, right? What I love about the DJ story is that, like, he sucked. Like, he had one good season, and sure, you can point to coaching issues with the Giants. You can point to personnel. There's, the vibe check has been off with the Giants for a while when it comes to the head office and the management and all that kind of stuff. But at least Barkley was a really good player that needed a place to go. Where Daniel Jones, like, it really felt like this guy's cooked. Like, this guy's done. He's going to be the next quarterback to, change teams year after year and not really do anything else with his career. And he's completely just a complete 180, man. And that's why, as a football story, I like it more than Saquon. Now, of course, Saquon got the icing on the cake with the Super Bowl, but put that aside, I like this story better. I just feel like wherever Saquon went, the idea was that he was probably going to do well. Where that was not the idea with Daniel Jones at all. And so I'm really happy for him. I'm right there with you. All right, we're going to move ahead into our best bets and wrap up the show. Now, I don't have a banner for this one. We'll talk about it anyway. I would put the banner up, but I got to fix my camera. So just listen to my words and we'll do it that way. Ravens -7.5 in Miami, -450 on the money line. +7.5 for the Dolphins is -105. +350 on the money line for the Dolphins. Over is 50.5, -110. The under is the same. Joe, hold it down for a minute. I'm going to dip out, fix my camera. I'll be back. What are your thoughts on the Ravens and the Dolphins? Again, Ravens -7.5, -450 on the money line. Lamar seems to be back. Still a decently high spread considering as bad as the Dolphins offense has been throughout the season. Not a great defense at Baltimore. What are your thoughts? Baltimore, Miami on Thursday night.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna be sipping the Ravens Kool-Aid. I think the juice that Lamar Jackson gives you being on the field, I think is gonna be enough to go ahead and cover that 7.5. I got them winning by at least 10 points. As far as that team's concerned. Listen, the Dolphins have trouble stopping the run. I think their best bet here in this game to keep their own defense off the field and to keep Baltimore scoring is run the ball incessantly. I think 200 yards rushing today on this game. Between Henry, between Keaton Mitchell, between Lamar Jackson. I think that's what keeps Miami's offense off the field, keeps them out of rhythm, keeps Tua throwing picks, even though he played a clean game last week. I think that's how you get him in a precarious situation is not letting him get into any kind of rhythm. And so that for me is going to be the easy call. I just don't believe in what the Dolphins did last week. I think Dolphins had that one shining moment where it's like, hey, everybody thinks we're cooked. Everybody thinks we're done. They were facing a backup quarterback who largely is basically maybe a career backup moving forward in Kirk Cousins. I think they just caught lightning in a bottle in one day. Everybody says any given Sunday. I think for the Dolphins, that was their any given Sunday moment. I think with what the Ravens are going into this week, believing that they need to win every single game if they're even going to give themselves a shot at the playoffs. I think they're going to come in hyped. I think they're going to come in ready. And I think these are two teams going in very largely different directions in the sense that I think Baltimore has hope with number 8 on the field, and even with what Tua did last week, I don't think that team really has hope moving
No,
forward that they're
who
going anywhere
cares?
with Tua. So give me Baltimore minus the points. I think they win by 10. And my favorite prop pick of the game is Derrick Henry over 89.5 yards. The Dolphins are bottom 5 in the league against the rush, and there's nothing that tells me that anything different's going to happen. They know that this team's going to run through Henry getting more than 10 carries a game. I think he's going to be somewhere around the 15 to 18 area. If they're going to mix in Lamar, if they're going to mix in Keaton Mitchell, I think the closer he is to 20, the better for them time possession wise to keep Tua off the field and out of rhythm.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll be honest, I'm staying away from this game. Obviously Lamar coming back, I think is clearly a big deal. I do not trust um I do not trust either of these defenses. I also don't trust the Dolphins offense. As amazing as Lamar is, he's been off for a while. I just don't know what to expect, man. Derrick Henry, he had a good day the other day, but he hasn't been as consistent and reliable this season as in seasons past. I don't really know what to do with this game, to be honest. I think, what was your prop?
Derrick Henry over 89.5.
I think that's a good bet just based on, and I know what I just said about Derrick Henry. However, I do think, you know, with Lamar just coming back and that, Dolphins run defense being what it is, I think that's a good bet. So I'll ride with that. Other than that, I'm staying away from this tire fire of a football game.
That's valid.
All right. I don't want to talk about this game super in depth. We give each other the games that we're picking. And I didn't give you this one, but I want to run this by you real quickly. New England home to Atlanta, -5.5 for the Pats, -240 on the money line, which is crazy. +198 on the money line for Atlanta. +5.5 is -115. Over is 45 or over 45.5. -105. The under is -115. Now, do we know what Penix's status is right now? Do you know that?
Unsure what his status is. I will tell you, for me, it has no bearing on my choice in the game.
Okay,
But I do not know what his status is.
Yeah, so before you get there, I was curious on that. I want to know what you think about this game, specifically from this angle. After what we saw this past week, after what we've seen from the Pats over the course of the season, even with Kirk Cousins, I already talked about how disappointed I am in how this team played over the weekend, but we've seen letdowns from this offense all year long. They're, for whatever reason, not giving Bijan the ball 20 times, regardless of the score. It's stupid, in my opinion. I just don't understand it. Like, he has the ability to be one of the best running backs in the league. And I just feel like game after game, they don't feed the guy. It drives me crazy to have a specimen like that on your roster and give him the ball 9 times. I don't care the score. 9 times is stupidity. Anyway, all that being said, the vibes are really high on the Pats and the vibes are really low on the Falcons, and that -5.5 feels like a trap. Although the obvious play is to take it, but it feels a bit trappy, and that money line is too juicy to make some serious money off of it unless you're, betting serious money. So now, where are you at with that kind of laid out there? My thoughts on it. Where are you at?
Yeah, for me, I'm taking the Pats minus the 5.5. I think the strength of their defense is their defense against the run.
Yep.
And because the Falcons need to lead with the run, for them to be effective, for them to be balanced. I think it's going to be very easy for them. Listen, they faced the Panthers team not too long ago that had two guys that were at one point in the top 5 in rushing with how many yards they each had, um, and pretty much had them under wraps. So for me, it's an easy call with the way they're moving. So my lean would be Patriots -5.5. And if I were to play a prop play here, even with his home run ability, I still believe in that Pats defense, and I would take Bichon under the 66.5. I think he'll get the volume. I just don't think he'll get the home run because of how stout they are on defense.
Yeah, can't argue with that at all. All right, first up, everybody, if you joined us before, you know how this goes. If you have not, I will quickly tell you. We each pick a 1 o'clock game, each pick a 4 o'clock game, and then we do the Sunday nighter. Last week, we did not get to our bets, but it would have been the same last week as it is this week. Not a lot of great games in that 4 o'clock slate. And our guy Joe is taking a Monday night game instead. But to kick us off in the 1 o'clock hour, where are you at on Sunday, 1 o'clock? What game are you going with?
For me, yeah, easy call, right? Colts Steelers. I think that's going to be a really really tight game, as evidenced by the line. For me, I'm riding the Colts. I love what the Colts have been doing all season. I think they're balanced on offense. I think they have a really solid defense against the rush. Little bit worried about the back ends, just because I think they're bottom half in the league against the back, against the pass. So that's gonna actually parlay into my my props bet. But give me Indy -2.5. I'm gonna take it down to 2.5 because I want to make sure that a field goal at the least wins the bet for us. So if -3 is at 110 or one at worst, -2.5 is like 120, 125, something around there. So still decent value to win by a field goal, just to avoid that push. My prop bet is going to be DK Metcalf over on the yards. His yards at 60.5. Colts have been a little leaky against the pass. So I think it's going to force Rodgers into maybe some short passes to kind of like supplant the run game, because I don't think they're going to be able to run against the Colts. So I think you're going to get a lot of short passes where DK can do a little damage running against the run after the catch. I think he's going to get some rack yardage here. But I think he's good for one decent deep ball over the top against one of these corners, and I think he hits one easily. I think he gets 80 yards at least in this game. So give me DK Metcalf over his 60.5, and Colts -2.5 on the spread.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I think for me, where I'm going with this game, I'm focused on the totals and not the main total. I think 50.5, I can see this going over the number. That would not surprise me whatsoever. It is a high number, but I can see, the Colts getting in the 30s, the Steelers getting in like the mid to high 20s. That would not surprise me at all. However, the totals that I like better. So over 50.5 is -102, which is just slightly minus money. The favorite of the two is the under at -120. The two totals that I have my eye on, and we've talked about this before, one of the downsides for a lot of sports books about picking props on Wednesday night is they don't have a lot of the props out at this time. The two props that I love, though, both involving the Colts, over 26.5 points for the Colts at -122. I love that bet. I would, if I had to choose -3 Colts or the over 26.5, I'd take the over 26.5. I know it's a little bit juicier as far as the value, I guess, negative juice, minus 122 at over 26.5. I do not like what I have seen from this Steelers defense. And I trust this offense to put up points, man. I just do. And we just saw Green Bay put up 35 points. And I would say that at the height of their powers, Green Bay probably has a better offense at the height. But with what we've seen this year, it's the Colts. And so 26.5 minus 122. I love it. The other total is the first half. Over 13.5 in the first half for the Colts. Over 13.5. That's 2 touchdowns and a field goal. That's minus 130. I love that too. That, to me, maybe even more than the game total, but I love that. First half, 13.5.
No, that's actually a very solid listen. One thing that you can say about the Colts team, the punter hasn't been getting a whole lot of work this year.
No.
Something Pat McAfee, former punter, has have been, and season ticket holder, is what he's been seeing from his Colts team, is that the punter's not getting a whole lot of work. So I like that. I like that that bet for you, just because they're not putting a whole lot. So even if they're not scoring touchdowns, they'll at least get 3.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. All right. My game for the 1:00 hour. There's a couple interesting ones. I mean, we already talked about at Atlanta and New England, just the New England side of it I find interesting. Bears and Bengals is a really interesting one because the Bears, for the second week in a row, face a horrendous defense. And so what are they going to do? That's going to be really curious. The Niners and the Giants is very interesting just from the standpoint of, the Niners, they are facing a team that just lost their running back. I know they have Tracy Jr., but Scatterboo's kind of become their guy. How many wins can the Niners rack up with these injuries also racking up? I'm curious on that. But the one that I am going with is Denver and Houston. This game, to me, I feel like this is a very, very heavy game. There's a lot of weight on this game. Minus 1.5. The Texans are favored here. Minus 1.5. If this game was 2 or 3 weeks ago, they would not be favored, even at home. But they are. Is it because of one good week? I guess. Minus 115, minus 1.5, plus 1.5 for the Broncos, minus 105, plus 110 on the money line for the Broncos, minus 130 for the Texans, over 39.5 at minus 110. The under is the same. I love, like I said, the weight of this game. The Texans cannot lose games right now. If they want any chance to redeem this season, they got to keep winning football games. I know they're 3-4. If they go 3-5, it's not over, but clearly it gets harder. And the Broncos, everyone's winning right now. The Chiefs are winning. The Chargers are winning. That division's winning. The Raiders, I don't even know if they're even a part of the division anymore. I think they might have left.
They might have gotten annexed.
Yeah, they might have been, what is the soccer term?
Relegated to the CFL.
Yeah, relegated.
Relegated.
So for the Broncos, if they want that division, which I think is important, they got to keep winning football games. Now, Kansas City has a really tough game against Buffalo. So no guarantee that Kansas City wins, right? The Chargers play the Titans. So pretty close to a guarantee that they're going to win. So the Broncos got to keep winning football games. Bo Nix just continues to be one of the most riveting, one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch. not even because of his heroics, but just the unpredictability that this cat brings week after
Yes.
week. Like just awful 3/4 and then just puts on the cape. Although they were really good against Dallas and took advantage of the one bad Dak game, really, that he's had this year. I love Denver in this spot, man. I think both defenses are really good. Houston's defense would be better. I'm curious that matchup, Houston's defense against a very sporadic Bo Nix. I'm curious, of course. CJ Stroud had a great week last week. Really good week. I don't know, great. It was really good. But I'm going to need to see a bit more than that from Stroud and the offense before I pass up on the Broncos plus money, plus 110. So that's my pick. Broncos plus 110. The total, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I can see it going under, but 39.5 I'm staying away from that one on either side of it. I'll just take the Broncos on the road.
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm going the other way. I'm going Texas at home. And I think it's going to be led by the defense. Fun fact about the Texans, they are third in the league in interceptions with 8. They are amongst the tops in the league in takeaways, in 11. And I think Bo's going to give you a couple. He's going to give you a couple of opportunities to take away the ball. I think he had a game just recently where he threw like 2-3 picks in the game. So I think because they're going to force him to win the game, they're going to take away the run. All right. So that means J.K. Dobbins. That means R.J. Harvey. They're going to shut that down. They're going to force Bo Nix to win the game. And then when you got guys like Derek Stingley Jr. back there and Kwame Lassiter, I think you're going to run into some problems. So I think Houston wins in a close one. I mean, at 1.5 favorite, I might as well just pick the money line, right? So, I might as well just pick the minus 1.5. I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit more value to you to take the minus 1.5. So I'm going to take it minus the 1.5. I think they win by at least a field goal. And as far as my prop pick, because I think they're going to force Bo Nix to win the game, I don't think he does it. I think he goes sub 200 yards passing.
Ooh.
I'm going to take the under on the passing yards with Bo Nix. I think he's going to be forced to do like the short pass thing to kind of like supplant the run game because the run game's not going to be there. And they're just not going to get beat over the top. I think if he tries to go over the top, I think it's going to come away with a pick. So I think they're going to force him into the short passing game, and I think he's somewhere around 175, 180 passing yards in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think for that reason, I would take the over interceptions. I think if there's like over half an interception, I think I would take that.
Solid.
For the same reason. All right, moving on. Kansas City at Buffalo. Love that these two teams face off seemingly every year in the regular season. Give the people what they want. Minus 1.5 are the Chiefs. And honestly, thank God for this game. Thank God. Jesus, whoever you want to thank him. Buddha, I don't care. The universe. Saints and Rams at 4:00, Jacksonville and Raiders at 4:00.
The only 4:00 game worth watching.
My God.
We would have been so stuck if this game didn't exist.
Dude, like, just thank you so much. And shame on the NFL too for just like, we got to give you guys some bad games, but like anyway, whatever. That's just thank you. Thank you to the gods for Kansas City Buffalo. Kansas City minus 1.5 at minus 114, plus 1.5 for the Bills is minus 106, minus 134 for the Chiefs on the money line, plus 114 for the Bills. The over is 52.5 at minus 105, and the under is minus 115. 15. Now, with this game, Buffalo wins this game every year. This is just kind of what they seem to do. And then in the playoffs, they lose to the Chiefs. That's just kind of how the storybook goes. Now, this defense is like beat up, man. And I don't know. Have we heard? I should know this with the World Series. My apologies for not knowing this. I'm in La La Land right now. But Ed Oliver, do we have an update on what's going on with him?
I believe he's on a short-term IR.
Okay,
If
so
not
he's at least out
long-term
for
IR.
this game.
Yeah, they picked up a former D tackle that they've had in them had in their system before. I believe it was Jordan Phillips, and
Yeah,
they also brought back Jordan Poyer back to the squad.
yeah. I mean, that really doesn't do too much for me. I just I hope to see. I want to see Buffalo continue to do well. The defense is concerning to me. Now I know that they stomped on the Panthers, and while I would usually say, Andy Dalton looked finished, and you can't really give the Bills too much credit for that, beatdown. That's what I would typically say, but I actually don't agree with that this time around. I think that going into the bye, they lose 2 straight after a great start. And even in a lot of their wins, like that week 1 win against Baltimore was amazing, but like they gave up 40 points. And they beat the Jets in there. And nothing's been just extremely convincing with this Buffalo team. And they needed that beatdown. Like, just to beat the Panthers wasn't good enough. They really needed to just put their foots on them, and they did. And I was impressed by that, even though it was the Panthers. Now, as far as this game goes, I mean, where do you land on this, man? Because I think Patrick Mahomes is back to Patty Mahomes things. This team looks phenomenal. The vibes, if you're doing vibe checks for both teams, I think the Chiefs certainly win that, right? They certainly win the vibe check. Everything's coming up Kelsey right now. Just what a hero that guy is all of a sudden. It's hard for me to look away from the Chiefs here in this spot. However, Buffalo Bills seemingly always have a chip on their shoulder, and plus money at home. That makes it difficult for me to pass on Buffalo as well. So where are you at in this spot? 52.5 is a high number. I do feel like this is going to be a gun show. Like, I do feel like this is going to be tit for tat all night long. So I don't mind that over, especially minus 105, just touching the under, or just touching the minus money there. Where are you at with this one? I honestly don't know where to go. I just think it's a fascinating matchup. And it just feels like the Bills always have something to prove. Always.
Valid. I'm gonna go the other way here. I'm gonna go Kansas City. I just think that this early season funk they were in has kind of given them a glimpse of kind of like, hey, we don't want to, like, seeding for them doesn't matter, I don't believe anymore, just because they've made it
I
to the
agree.
Super Bowl from the wild card position, so they know how to get there on the road now. Um, but as far as this particular game's concerned, to your point, this has been the game that the Bills have won between them. And then the Chiefs would then, if they face them in the playoffs, they would win that game. Um, I think KC knows that trend. I think they've played themselves into a place where they're like, we need to start picking up steam. We need to start picking up consistency. We need to start stacking wins. We need to start putting some pressure on the Chargers, and not letting them think that this is the game where they tell the world the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. I don't think you could say that with some of the other maybe the Lions victory. But I think if you do this on the tail end of, having beat the Lions, you've had the Raiders and the Commanders in between, and both of them, one of them didn't have their starting quarterback, and then the other, I think, stopped playing football somewhere around week 3. So, um, no offense to Pete, man. I love Pete and his gum
Dude,
chewing, and I'm glad
it's
he's back on the sidelines, but it is a gong show
it's
for the Raiders right
oh,
now.
dude, to say the
Um,
least.
so I say all that to say I think this is the game, on the heels, again 2 weeks ago, having beat the Lions. This is the game they say the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. They win this game. I'm going to take the minus the 1.5. And I don't know what it is on your book, but on my book, I think the number is low. So I'm taking it literally as we speak. I am hitting the button. Um, Patrick Mahomes, his over under on rushing yards is 27.5. He has hit
Ooh,
that number in his last 4 games. I think that this number is low, especially against a team that is letting go rushing yards like nobody's business. So, with that being said, my prop bet is Patrick Mahomes over 27.5 rushing yards. And just to let you know, chat, we are cooking right now. In the last 4 weeks, I've gone
yes.
20-4 on the prop bets. 20-4. We had a 5-1 last week in week 8 with the only miss Javonte Williams. And that's only because his team decided not to show against 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 the Broncos. So that's fine. We're still cooking 20-4. We're going to try to keep it going. Patrick Mahomes over 27.5, and Kansas City minus 1.5 from me.
Yeah, no, you've been on fire absolutely all year long. So make sure to tell this guy he's been legit. The funny thing is, dude, is as of right now, the Chiefs are not in the playoffs. As of right now,
Just crazy to
right?
think.
5-3.
Yeah.
So we talk about how 9-8, 10-7 might get you in. I say that, but I mean, listen, the Colts, Patriots, Broncos, Steelers. Broncos obviously in the same division. They're 6-2.
Mm-hmm.
After that top four, oh sorry, they are in the playoffs. They're in the 7th seed. Yeah, yes, they are. They're in the 7th seed. So the Bills are in the 5th seed at 5-2. Chargers 5-3. Chiefs 5-3. So these games are important, man. This is not just this is really important. I think this is a really fun segment for another day since we're running up on 90 minutes here and we're going to call it. But this is a fun, right now, Colts, Pats, Broncos, Steelers, Bills, Chargers, Chiefs. Is that the 7? Is that the 7? Is there anyone else who can creep up? Because if the Ravens creep up, if the Bengals, do something crazy, if the Texans, kind of get it together, I know the Jags are right there, but I'm not paying attention to that. Then who falls out? It's interesting conversation, and we'll have that at another day. All right, Sunday night spot. Again, I don't want to talk about this game too much, other than I'm just really impressed with Seattle right now, man. I'm just really impressed with this football team. Much like Daniel Jones, I just what Darnold's been doing. Still has his Darnold moments, but I'm just really impressed with what this team has done. Currently leading the division. They are the 4th seed as of right now, but do lead their division at 5-2. And Washington, do we know what's going on with Jaden Daniels? Because that has been just a kind of back and forth roller coaster with his health.
I think he plays. He's practicing. He just wasn't completely right for Monday. But he has been practicing so far this week. it looks like he's probably in line to. I think he plays me personally.
Well, Seahawks -3, -72, -172 on the money line, +144 for the Commanders. Both -3 and +3 are -110. The over 47. Wow, I'm all over the place. Over 47.5 is -110. Um, I just like what the Seahawks are doing, man, and I'm not getting overly complicated. I'll take the Seahawks at -3, and I'm leaning under here. I can see under 47.5. I can see, 24-20, 24-17, something on those lines. I obviously, if it goes over, I wouldn't be shocked, but I am going to take the under 47.5.
All right, that's valid. I'm taking Seattle here -2.5 here. Again, just want to make sure that a field goal wins it. To avoid a push. As far as my prop bet, listen, Washington's defense is in shambles. They're bottom half both against the rush and the pass. Um, for me, you can go one of two ways. I like Kenneth Walker in this reduced role. Typically I don't when you have like a dual running back situation, I don't um take a rushing bet in that line, but I just think Kenneth Walker is the more dynamic of the two between him and Charbonnet. Charbonnet may get goal line carries, he may get the touchdowns, but I think Kenneth Walker overall gets more yards. I think he's gonna end up being the lead guy when it's all done. So I'm taking his over in 52.5 rushing yards. But what I would not say no to if you wanted to go ahead is hitting JSN for the over in his yards, which is
Mm.
at 90.5 in my book. He's got like at least 200 yards over the next guy in receiving yards in the league. So that tells you that the volume is going to be there. He's going to be hit early and often by Darnold. That is by far his favorite target. So don't let the 90.5 number scare you. I think against that secondary with Sandstrill and Lattimore and listen, Lattimore decent defensive back, but what he has a big problem with is the guys with size. And that's why he always gets cooked by Evans from Tampa Bay. So just keep that in mind as you're making the picks. He's going to throw to JSN at least 15, 16 times. And more than likely, he's going to come down with 8 and hit triple digits.
Yeah, I cannot argue against that. All right, last game of the week. I already teed it up. You are doing the Monday Nighter, Arizona in Dallas, plus -2.5 for the Cowboys, -118. The other side is -104, -152 on the money line for the Cowboys, +128 for the Cardinals. Over 53.5, -110 both ways. Where are you going? Arizona and Dallas.
Yeah, give me Dallas -2.5. I just think that I think the heart of this Cardinals team has got to be broken. So many close losses in their 5-game losing streak, and they're going to be on the road for this one. The Cowboys just got spanked by the Broncos. They're not going to be feeling really good. And they're going to need to take it out on someone, and I think they take it out on the Cardinals. That being said, however, that Cowboys team was under siege last week, as far as their defense is concerned, and I do believe that Marvin Harrison Jr., I believe at 58.5 receiving yards is pretty nice against that particular secondary. So I'm going to go ahead and take his over just because I think they're going to be playing from behind. So if they're going to be playing from behind, they're going to have to throw the ball, and it's going to either be McBride or Marvin Harrison Jr. I think both of them get over their number. I'm going to give the edge over Marvin. give the edge over to Marvin though at over 58.5. So Dallas minus 2.5, MHJ over 58.5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Either way, I could see this. I think the bottom line for this, like for me for this, and as the Eagles fan, it kills me to say this. Dak is he's having overall, Dak's having a really good year. And that game against Denver was not a very good year, or a very good game. I think so the Cowboys total is a little high. But over 27.5 for the Cowboys, I really like that at minus 120. I think, what do they have against the Broncos? 22 or 24? 22.
24.
Okay, 24. And the Broncos are a much better defense than this Cardinals team is, which sucks to say. I mean, the Cardinals, like, their defense is what I really liked about this team heading into the year. And that offense just can't be trusted. You know, even I like your prop with Marvin Harrison. I just, even like his relationship with Kyler as far as production goes has been really bizarre over the course of the year. And so this Arizona team just can't be trusted. And so now I try not to let my fandom get in the way of my making money or losing money for that matter. So I will not, but that being said, I will refuse to pick a side, and I'll just pick the Cowboys over 27.5. All right, there you go. All right, Joe. So there it is, the week 9 picks. Thank you to everybody for hanging out, everybody for watching very heavily on Total Apex Media tonight, and we really appreciate that. Before we take off, 2 minutes until first pitch. Where are you at with this World Series, brother? And this is all for me. This isn't even for the viewers. I haven't talked to you about the World Series, so I just want to know, where are you at with this World Series? This has been one of the best, and I mean, of course, I am biased with my Blue Jays being in it, but this has been an incredible World Series. Like, I don't think there's any debating that. One of the best in my memory. It's just been incredible, and I think that's safe to say. Even if you don't have rooting interest, I think that's just across the board. So where are you at with the World Series so far?
For me, I'm not gonna say that the lights are gonna be too bright. For your boy, you Savage going out there.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna ride Blake Snell. I think he has a bounce back game. I think Friday he knows that he did not have his best performance. He actually had his worst performance in the whole postseason. So I think looking at that and understanding, where he went wrong in that lineup on that particular day, I think he rights the ship today, and I think he gets it done.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Derek Jeter, I just got someone just texted me that obviously I didn't watch this live because I'm doing this, but apparently Derek Jeter just said that whoever gets the win tonight has the momentum. So hot take, very, very good. I love Derek Jeter, but yeah, very dynamic, analytical process there, I'm sure, to come to that conclusion that whoever gets the third win first.
Man, way to go out on the limb, Cap.
Yeah, I like, you know what, man? I said this morning on TikTok, by the way. Brady, who I haven't seen in the chat the last couple weeks, he keeps bugging me to be on TikTok. Well, you can find me there now, Solder on Sports. I said this morning. Going into Game 3, I really thought it was important for the Blue Jays to win the first 2 games, just because after Yusevich and after Gosman, I mean, Scherzer and Bieber. Scherzer because he's 41, and Bieber because he just came back in August. it's just hard to really know what we're going to get from those two. And I just really felt that if the Jays were going to make a series of this, which I really felt they were going to, I picked 6 or 7 games. I really felt like this was going to be a long series. Just because if the Blue Jays can get to that bullpen, they can light them up. And that's exactly what they've done when they've won, right? I really thought that the Jays needed to win both those games at home. Now they didn't. They split, and they split so far in LA as well. That Scherzer start was phenomenal. Ended up losing the game, but really good start from Scherzer. And Bieber was lights out last night. And so, and I think you kind of benefited a little bit. Listen, Ohtani pitched a good game. Like he pitched well. But I do think there's a little bit of fatigue there from like this guy hits too. And he just played, he was on base 9 times, or 7 times, 9 times, I think, in 18 innings. So anyway, but I like the Jays tonight. I just think that like Savage has been grinding out these starts. We haven't seen what we saw in the first start, right, against your Yankees, but we've seen him just grinding out these starts. And I think if the Blue Jays can just stick to what they do, and that is get the starter off the mound. And that one game that they lost convincingly was against Yamamoto, who just doesn't leave the mound. And I also think that if Yamamoto is going to pitch in game 6, you have to win tonight.
You have to win tonight. Yeah. I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
Like there is no that's it, man. Like you gotta win tonight. So it's gonna be fun, man. I'm really looking forward to it. Joe, I appreciate you. Thank you as always for hanging out with me. To everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. Once again, this show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order, up to 60% off certain sales items. Again, with our promo code SPORTS10, and Total Apex Sports and Total Apex Media. Check them out. Baseball, football, sporting, DFS, fantasy, all that good stuff. They got it all. Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.